And now that we're recording, we will go ahead and call the Columbia 911 Communications District, February 22nd, 2024 Board of Directors meeting session at 0900. Members present, Shelley Hennessy, Henry Heidmuller, Jeremy Hazenkamp, Rob Anderson, Bruce Holsey is excused. Staff present.
For staff, we have Nathan Hughes, Technical Manager, Nikki Nichols, Chief Financial Officer, Mary Jo Beck, Office Specialist. Online, we have Chandra Egan, CAD Specialist. Is there anyone else online?
Just Michael Peterson.
And Michael Peterkin, Legal Counsel, and then myself, Danielle Hooper, Operations Manager.
All right. Public comments. You can take the podium, sir, if you would like. I just want to mention 3 minutes is our time limit for public testimony.
My name is Mark Gift. I'm a Columbia County resident. I live in Scappoose, Oregon on Dahlgren Road. I just wanted to touch base a little bit about something that was in the meeting minutes about reducing the reserve fund. Being through a financial crunch with an agency in this county when the revenues did not come in to meet expectations, hurt us dramatically. It was pending the layoff of personnel and not being able to do some needed capital improvements that needed to be done. I think it is wise to have at least a year's worth of operation time in the reserve fund. I think you need to get through at least 2 election cycles at minimum, a November and a May. That being said, I would like you to consider wisely on not reducing that fund in any way, shape, or form. I'm assuming that you have it in the government savings plan, which is actually making you some money on interest, which actually benefits you in another way and grows the fund without having to contribute to it. I just think it would be a very wise and prudent move on the board's part to do so. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you. And seeing no other members of the public in the building, anyone else online join us?
Tyler joined us.
All right, is there any other public testimony? All right, hearing none. We do have a change on the agenda. We're going to move our executive session to the top to accommodate the schedule of our legal counsel. So here at 0903 under ORS 192.6602H, legal counsel, we will enter executive session.
One second while everybody joins. And we're good.
All right, everyone's back in. 0915, we will resume normal session, which brings us to additions to the agenda. Are there any changes, requests?
Staff, not by staff.
Hearing none, we'll move on to approval of previous minutes. Don't vote on these individually or by slate.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the minutes of both the January 25th regular meeting and the February 5th special meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve both the January 25th and the February 5th meeting minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Financial reports, budget variance.
So our budget variance benchmark is at 42%. We are looking still to be in good shape, coming in just under that. Sorry, it's reverse from what I'm used to. I work the other way, so we would be at 75% of the year's gone and 25 left type thing. So I have to wrap my brain around that when I say that. We received our third quarter 911 excise tax in this last month. And we also received something that we only get once a year. It was a SIT monies that we got back from the county. We do budget for it, and we received a little bit more than we had budgeted for. So that was a nice bump for this month. Everything else seems to be in normal order. Is there any questions that you guys had looking at the budget variance report or the register?
We're gonna approve these separately or together?
Yeah, that was the plan.
Okay, I'll wait till we get to the
Or whoever makes the motion.
expenditures.
Was there a motion on the table yet?
Not yet. Move we accept the budget variance report as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Actually, I should say, didn't ask if there's any additional discussion first. But I believe the ayes was Shelley, Henry, and Jeremy, in case I talked over it. All those opposed? Passes. Expenditures.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the expenditures as presented in the check register and described by Nikki earlier.
There a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the expenditures as presented. Discussion.
Mr. Chair, I did have one point, on item number 828, the Pacific Office Automation lease. I assume that's for copiers. When on your description, it'd probably be behoove the public if we put copier lease so that they knew what that actually was going for.
I can make that change.
Just for clarification, so when somebody's just reading through that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I already asked Nikki, but regarding 825, it's Day Wireless where the memo says Day is revising this invoice. So I was just asking her to clarify a little bit on that one, please.
So in Mike's review of that particular AP, he brought it back to me, asking me to hold off on paying it because he didn't think that all the charge was ours. It was a joint thing between Day Wireless and Eduardo at MNI. So he wanted to look into it before we paid it. And now he's off. So I can follow up with him through you, and see if he has gotten anywhere with that before moving forward and paying it.
Okay, so that was $5,655. And so we haven't paid it, any of that yet.
We have not paid any of it.
Okay,
It was pulled and voided.
any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, appointments of the budget committee members. Zones 1, 4, 5, and vacancy in zone 2.
Had a chance to find somebody yet, so if, I mean, I can fill in until I can get somebody appointed, if that's, I don't know what that looks like, but, I'll still be trying to find somebody.
Yeah, we participate in the meetings also, so we don't need to actively try to recruit or find someone, hopefully.
Yep.
I know it's a bit of a challenge at times.
Yeah, because everybody wants to step up and get involved in stuff,
Do
right?
financials, yes.
I did reach out to Dee Woolley, Randy Hansen, and there's one.
Grayson?
Mike Dyson.
Yes, Mike Grayson, and all three are willing to serve another term. So we can appoint them.
There was nobody from zone two last time.
No, and I was going to look, I don't know if Sean Clark, he had expressed an interest after he left the board, but he couldn't do it for at least 2 years removed from the board. I don't know if he's reached that 2-year mark or not. We can look into it. Yeah.
I've
That's it.
actually got to talk to him on some other stuff. He has been Rainier still.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, that's a possibility. I just gotta look back and see if he's past that 2-year mark.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
What areas do those zones cover?
It's basically St. Helens kind of west towards Rainier and takes off at, I think it's right around Rainier.
That's it. Right behind you is the zone map.
Yeah.
That might make it a little easier than
Yeah.
trying to describe it.
Yeah, it's Columbia City, Deer Island, part of Rainier. Go part of Rainier.
You have vacancy in zone 5 as well?
No, the only zone that we have a vacancy for is 2.
2, okay,
Yeah, they're offset 3 and 2, so there's never 5 brand new people all at once.
gotcha.
We can go ahead and approve the other 3 for now if you like.
Yeah, do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to reappoint the budget committee members from the past in zones 1, 4, and 5.
Okay.
It's been moved and seconded to reappoint the current representatives for zone 1, 4, and 5, which is Woolley, Hanson, and Grayson. Any further discussion?
Just a question. So 1, 4, and 5 come up next year. Is that correct?
Next year, because their appointment or their term ended this year, so they will be 3 more years starting. Let me see this. So you can. Yeah, so their term ended fiscal year 22-23. So this appointment does 23-24, 24-25, 25-26.
Fortunately for you, Randy's stepping up, so you didn't have to try to find someone.
It may be the last one that he can do. Sounds like his son's gonna take over the farm, so it will no longer be in his name, but that still remains to be seen. He said he would let me know.
Is he actually living there or is he living out of the area?
He has property outside of the area, but yes, he still lives there. He goes back and forth.
But that's the residence.
As-
Actual lives there, well, to establish
As
residency.
far as I know, yes. From what I understand.
I just want to clarify that if he does, in fact, have other properties and not maintaining a full-time residence here, that would be a problem with residency stuff.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Passes. Operations Manager report.
Lots of updates on hiring this time. We, again, just want to remind you guys, we closed at the end of December. We got 36 applicants. We have 4 tentative job offers out right now, and there's been some updates since I wrote this report. We actually have 2 that have completed their background, a 3rd that is going to complete theirs today. And so I have 2 that have almost finished their psych, and I've got a tentative start date of March 12th for 2 of them. And another one that would probably start a couple months after that. My 4th hire is wanting a part-time position and won't be able to start until later in the summer. So I'm actually looking to reopen hiring right away. This was a really fast hiring from when we closed to a start date. I'm very happy with how it went. And I appreciate Nathan's help with advertising. I think that really benefited us. Jared Leloff did resign from the district. He was a lead dispatcher at the time that he left with just over 9 years of service. He is moving out of the area with his family and left in good standing, and we are very thankful for all of the work that he did, and we wish him the very best. Our trainee, Jolene, is right now in her final stage of skill build. She is doing great and will be fulfilling our minimum staffing very, very soon. Kirby's working really hard to get our in-house academy set up for these new hires. It's going to be really nice to have 2 starting at the same time. It'll make that classroom experience a lot more beneficial. Northwest Leadership, we are looking to send a couple of staff to that from the floor because I am opening up lead positions with the vacancy of Jared leaving. We are going to go back to 3 lead dispatch positions. And it's something that the district did back in 2014. And with our young and eager staff that one, need leadership and also are very eager to learn and grow, I think that it's going to be very beneficial for our district. And staff projects, I just wanted to put a little bug in your guys' ear that we've got, because they're so motivated right now and so interested in taking a bigger piece and part of the agency. I'm very impressed with them. I have 2 staff members, Frank and Rich, who are starting to work on a peer support program, which speaks to all of the above that I just mentioned. I think it's going to help our staff retention. It's also going to be more attractive when we open hiring to have that be something that's built into our agency. So I'm bringing that up now because in the next few meetings or even going into the budget season in the next fiscal year, we'll be talking about that to you guys a little bit more. Do you guys have any questions about anything that I can answer? I know that I am trying to fill Mike's shoes. I did talk to him. He's doing as well as he can. I think he's doing pretty good, actually.
Is there any other leadership development stuff you guys do for the lead dispatchers, or is it just Northwest leadership?
The SST has a supervisory academy.
Okay, but anything, I mean, yeah, checking the boxes, I get that, but is there any other type of development you do with them? I know there's also some online stuff that
In-house
from,
and APCO 911 has conferences and leadership tracks. There is stuff that's online, both through APCO, Nina, and different resources. I also, being someone that was a lead here within this agency for, I don't remember how many years, 7 or 8. When I left the position, I actually developed some training for the incoming because I've been in the position so long. The job description was written, but the tasks had kind of changed. So I had outlined that. So that's in place and ready for them.
We need to get you any help.
The 3 leads are going to help a lot. It'll be a tiny bit of a heavy lift on the beginning. And then once they're in place, they are so dedicated and so responsible. I'm really optimistic about that being some assistance. I know that we had discussed potentially reaching out. That's not an option, unfortunately. And I did talk to Mike about how things are going. Busy, lots of balls in the air. It's, levy time and budget season and hiring. But going on 19 years here, I'm hanging in there.
Well, we just don't want to beat you up too much. I know you're going above and beyond during Mike's absence, but please don't hesitate to let the board know if there's resources that we need to be helping you search for if you need that.
I really appreciate that, and I definitely will.
did I miss a time when Mike's supposed to be back?
I want to say beginning of April.
Yeah, for some reason, I'm not April, but March 23rd stuck in my was stuck in my head, but it might be the beginning of April.
I know that my experience with people having surgery, you know more at your first follow-up with the surgeon, and I believe that he's doing that this week. And so if those dates change or if I get any updates, I'll bring them to this meeting.
What's current staffing right now? Like actual people released and on their own?
11.
11, and then you had 4 new hires, and that's to replace.
Yes.
That's to get you guys up to where you're trying to be at minimums.
No, but that gets us on our way. We have, we are budgeted for 17. We had 2 budgeted leads. We moved that back to 3. And we don't have any leads right now, which is why I'm gonna open them all 3 up at the same time, which is really beneficial. It fosters more of a team, collaborative, learning everything at once. We have 2 vacant part-time positions. One of those 4 that I'm hiring is looking to start in that part-time, but it is still a great benefit to our agency because the part-time that she's seeking is one that will fill in the overtime as it's available. It's not a set shift. It's gonna save a lot of
Mandates.
a lot of mandates and keep our staff healthier while we're at low numbers.
And just curious, because coming to this, what's the reason for only having 2 I mean, is there a cost to having these people as far as a part-time when they're not working? I mean, but having more to draw from, I'm just kind of curious if that's something that's been explored, to have more of a pool for part-timers to come in and fill in on those things, or is there a certain minimum they have to meet to stay part-time?
One of the part-time positions that we have was contract language changed from this last CBA agreement. And it does, one of them, the part-time has an obligation to fulfill 1/2 of a full-time position. And the other one has a minimum of 80 hours, which is the equivalent, but they sign up, they aren't set shifts, they sign up to fill in. In my experience and why we have these part-times have been based on retaining staff that would have left if they didn't have a part-time option to stay. We've left those in place to keep them attractive. Even with her coming in, I still have 1 empty. If someone was to approach me wanting to do a part-time, I would have a discussion and we would, really take advantage of working with somebody.
What's the cost to the district to keep a recruitment going all the time when you have open positions? I mean, obviously you can pull lists and are you taking applications all the time? I'm just curious, because I know that's always the big thing is getting applicants in the door. So I'm just wondering, is there a cost to keeping an open recruitment?
Yes.
Versus how much is it a lot? I mean, or is that
It
like
depends.
ad? Okay.
It depends. We're always open for laterals. There are some free advertising that we take advantage of. The Oregon APCO 911 website allows free postings. Oregon.gov, government
SCAO.
jobs, SCAO. And we're always open for laterals. We can get laterals in the door a little quicker and on their feet, off training, especially if they're an Oregon lateral because they're potentially already certified, already went to academy. As far as opening for entry, it's very labor intensive for one. There is a cost. That's one of the things that Nathan really helped me with. The more that we promote those ads and we pay for the government jobs to put specific ads out there. And Mary Jo helps with newspapers, Facebook, Indeed. Trying to remember all of them. So there's a tracking and a timeline that goes with every, especially an entry level. There's also requirements with the state for things that are included in that. I can only hire people and start them when I have trainers available. And we have 5 positions on the floor, 3 people, minimum staffing from 2 to midnight, more than 2 trainees, and I don't have anywhere for them to sit. So some of it is a scheduling. But I am, like I said, I've never seen a hiring since I've worked here close and have someone in the door to start this quick in my entire career. I'm gonna look to, because it might be a shift in the job market right now, and I'm gonna capitalize on that, and I'm gonna get under there.
I know on the private side, I'm seeing a shift where there is more applicants.
Yeah.
Actively seeking, so that's why I'm wondering if there's a way to keep it, you know, I mean, you don't have to pull applications, but if there's a way, I mean, I'd be for some way, even if it's just on your website to apply there, you know, so that you're at least constantly getting those applications in, because you might get two that just happen to, you know, decide to pull in and do an interview process. I don't know. I'm just kind of seeing how we can get to that point where where you guys are completely full up and you got happy, healthy staff that's not getting overrun with overtime.
I totally see what you're saying. In essence, I am doing that because it takes them 4 to 6 months to get trained. And if I have two starting on March 12th and I open hiring on April 1st, and it takes me 3 to 4 months to get through all the hiring processes, I am literally going to be able to do just that. I'm going to have someone walk in the door as soon as someone finished. So keeping it open all of the time, I'm open to entertaining that. I don't recommend it. And I'm welcome to hear any input from,
I'll mention that our applications are solely on our website and the lateral stays open all year long.
all year long. And we do have 4 out there working right now that we got through that.
I think even, I mean, just looking at if somebody applies, you know, even if it is this, you know, you gotta get them out the door onto the floor before you can hire more. I mean, if you've already got a 3 to 6 month hiring process, right? Is that what I heard? I mean, you know, you can always stretch that out. And I think that, you know, backgrounds get rushed through. And so maybe having that longer process because you're already having applicants in the pipeline, you know, you could always make it shorter if you needed to, but I mean, I would be all for looking to see how you can keep those entry applicants coming in and at least looking at them, you know, because we all know that what's your rate been for hires to get to the floor?
As far as the people that we hired getting off training,
Yeah.
in my 2 years, I've had only one person not make it through our training.
Cool.
I'm trying to add up how many people I've started since. So I'm at just over 2 years as ops manager. All of our entries that we have hired, which is 3, our laterals, I'm sorry, not our entries, all 3 of those made it off training. 2 of those were already DPSST certified and lead certified. And so it was like a coupon and it looked really, really, really good and fast. And then 1 entry level that has made it off and then 1 that did not.
So 50% on the entry levels.
Yes, I think if we looked at more years, that number is much higher. I'm only speaking to the 2 years and I've only hired 2 entry. These 4 that are coming in, one of them, the one that wants part-time, is what I would describe as a soft lateral. She has 9 years of experience, but hasn't dispatched since 2016. So she's got all of her certifications have expired. So she's still gonna be faster to learn. Yeah, I get what you're saying about the 50%. I don't think it's an accurate reflection of kind of overtime. Also, we're coming out of that bad job market. I went from 10 to 12 applications to 36. That's kind of a better indicator of our success rate when we hire and start.
Yeah, I heard that right. That's a sample size of 2, so we
Exactly.
need more.
Yes,
But history, you know, I mean.
history is
that's-
much higher success, much higher.
And out of those 36, how many would you potentially, I mean, would you have to do a new process? Do you think there would be, or would you just move down on the list? Is there more quality? I don't know if that's an HR thing, but would you have to reopen or would there be people there on that list that you would
No, there's
Okay.
only 4 that made it past
faster? Okay,
the
so
required non-opinion past requirements by.
gotcha.
Mhm.
Any other questions for operations? Hearing none, technical manager.
The safety committee met this month. Nothing major to report from that. OSHA reached out to give us a consultation, so I'm gonna be stopping by. I'm a little nervous about that. But they said they're not gonna ding us on anything. Magic's mobile user group met again to work on the NDCs. we're getting closer to a final product, so hopefully in the next month or two, we'll be starting to roll out to beta users, the new MDT. The radio project went out with Motorola and Day Wireless. We toured greenfields and existing radio sites to scope out potential locations and what needs to be done to existing locations. Website, we're working with our vendor to update the backend to a newer version, which will help improve the security of our system. Since writing this report, another company reached out. I'm really liking their product, so I might go down that road and see what they can offer compared to our current vendor. And then talk about it in new business, but we've reached out to 6 companies for quotes on the new admin phone system. And we're liking the companies that did respond. That's all I have. Any questions?
All right, hearing none, we'll move on to old business. First one is radio system.
I do not have any updates. Yes,
Changes Meisner construction.
some updates.
Just getting back to the radio system, I had asked at the last meeting just to see internally what had been put out for the invitation to bid, and still had nothing yet again. I don't know if that's still a document that we're worried about, but you know, obviously just be internal for, so I just wanted to see what was actually put out by the vendor to the other companies.
To my knowledge, that document doesn't exist on our servers.
My knowledge as well.
So we've seen it though?
So I think
I have
Mike
not
is
seen
gonna
it.
follow up
I
with
have
you.
not.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Figure that one out. Phase 3 microwave upgrades,
No updates.
next gen radio product.
Also, no.
What's that?
Oh, I said, I guess that should have been a question for that part.
Oh, yeah, that's all right.
PDCC,
No, Mike, you didn't go to any meetings.
I've gone to all of them.
The most recent one, was there anything that you have?
and just for PDCC stands for,
Portland Dispatching CAD Consortium, something like that.
and it's a resilience study and recommendations. So nothing from the meeting.
No, we're still waiting on the report back from Mission Critical. That's it.
It's an old business this year, but SEO conference participant feedback.
George Dunkel did a fantastic job with it wasn't the new board, it was. What that one was called, anyway, it was a new class he had taught, did a fantastic job. It was about running meetings, the do's and the don'ts. It was a really beneficial meeting, really one that I feel like we all should be at. So, but the conference itself was great.
Was the largest participant conference in SDAO history so far. To the point that it felt like we had outgrown the space. There was a number of sessions that I went to that got there 10 or 15 minutes before the thing was going to start, and it was already standing room all the way around the room, and all the chairs were full, and it was like, well, geez, I'm not going to stand up for the next 2 hours. So, and this was Mark's first one too, I think, right? Yeah, and but as usual, SDAO did a great job putting things together. I did talk to George about the fact that, you know, there was a little grumbling in the hallways when it came down to people just not having a place to go because things were so full. There were so many people, which is a great problem to have, as he and I discussed. But and to Shelley's point on that one session, next time I cross paths with George, I'm going to say, is that something you can kind of scale down and bring to a board workshop? Kind of something that we could bring into our district individually, because just lots of good pointers, not just the law, but you know, just the pointers from years of experience. So Danelle, was there any
I thought it was really great. I did go to the CEO business meeting and they spoke to that kind of overcrowding and looking in future years at different spaces. This being my second time to go, it was nice running into people again and being more familiar. I thought it was very beneficial and worth our time to go.
I had a conflict, so I wasn't able to make it, and then by the time I was able to go, I looked at it was the banquet at night, and then the next morning was the breakfast, so. But my plan is to reimburse the district for not being able to get cancellation, so, and I didn't cash my per diem check, so. We can cancel that one, and then I'll get you a check for the reimbursement for my tuition and everything.
For the difference.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I also did want to say that the one that you're talking about, that's an elective course for George. I'd already talked to him because I wanted to get together with him since I wasn't going to be able to attend that session anyway. So I'm already kind of getting that wheels in motion to get that at least one-on-one, and or I can already have a conversation with him to try and bring him to if anybody else wants to sit in on that session as well that didn't get to do it.
Well, the nice thing is if you already looked into it, let's coordinate it, because usually what we try to do in that example is talk to the other boards in the county and just try to monopolize on it and say, hey, there's the state, we're gonna do this, so anyone who can attend,
I'd be willing to do that.
try to make it a win-win.
Yeah, and even coordinate getting a venue if we need more people than what this room would hold, depending on how many people would be interested.
I don't know if you already had any tentative dates with George.
I was in touch with him, talked to him, said, hey, let's go grab coffee, because I was thinking that would be stuff, but if there's more of an interest in getting that, we could definitely, I gotta have coffee with him soon anyway, so. Can definitely try and get something together and see the interest.
Doing it in a group setting, because then there was questions that came in from other people.
It's
So I
that
think there's
networking
been-
process where a lot of questions come up and stuff that he's been doing these classes for so many years is sometimes you just miss what at the entry level, very basic questions people have.
And I think next year the conference is supposed to be in Bend. Not the river.
Yeah, but has been quite a few years since it's been at the River House. For those of you, well, most are familiar with it, but they try to travel around the state as much as possible. And the issue has always been capacity. The convention center was one before, but the Seaside a few years ago did a remodel. It helped a little bit, but it was still bursting at the seams, and it sounds like unfortunately it's back to bursting at the seams. I think even Eugene Hilton wasn't that an issue. 'Cause they were down there a couple times.
Well, people didn't like going to Eugene was kind of the main thing really there. It was just like attendance was always poor at the Eugene conference.
So they try to travel it around, make it around the state. But yeah,
It's regional versus one big conference, I think, for just travel, and it'd be nice to just have a something commuter versus going down and staying. Especially to entice younger board members that have kids and things like that.
anything else on the SDO conference?
I enjoyed it, being my first one.
Yes.
Yeah, I met a lot of people. I got a lot of good information out of going to the sessions that I attended. It was very similar to conferences I've been to. So that was a plus. I even ran into 2 people from Washington conferences that were there, vendors. I enjoyed our inspirational speaker. That was fun. Did you guys do that? I like being on the limo.
Was that the opening or the closing session?
They didn't have a closing session this year.
It was the opening.
Yeah.
Probably get those Super Bowl weekends, so you know, they figure people are gonna
Right.
Yeah.
get out there as soon as possible.
Yeah, it was something I missed though. I mean, that, and, for folks that haven't been there before, usually the Sunday morning breakfast thing is followed by an hour long or so motivational speaker that kind of ramps you up for the trip home and that kind of thing. And normally it's a little bit of comedy and a little bit of, introspective for the stuff you've learned and all of that kind of thing. And didn't do that, so.
I didn't make it this year, but any cool swag? Well, moving on, Northwest Leadership Seminar.
The seminar is coming up in Portland on March 6th through the 8th. I believe Shelley is registered to go. If there's any other board members that are interested, let us know. I'm gonna send a couple of our staff, like I said. I've gone to it in years past and I find it very rejuvenating and inspiring.
Can I just make a comment on that? If anybody has never attended and has not seen Gordon Graham speak, this may be his last year, and it's definitely worth going just for that perspective anyhow. So,
Seen him a few times and great.
So anyone else has any interest is gonna follow up with Mary Jo. Next on the agenda, local option levy resolution 24-01. Do I hear a motion which will have to be by number and title?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve resolution 24-01 in the matter of confirming the authority to call a measure election to submit to the electors of the district the question of authorizing a 5-year local option levy in the amount of 29 cents for $1,000 of assessed property value over a 5-year period for a total estimated revenue requirement of $10,318,503.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion. Correct me if I'm wrong, this is just formal resolution for what we approved at the last meeting. Nothing has changed. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
I'll sign the same one.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'll bring it around.
We go around for signatures. Any other old business?
Or stuff.
Brings us on to new business. Nathan, you're gonna, unless you're gonna do this, back up the admin phone system upgrade. And for everyone in their board packet, we have information at the end of the technical report.
Yeah, Mary Jo has actual quotes if you'd like to look at them. So our current phone system is over 10 years old, and when it crashes hard. Like the voicemail system takes 48 hours to come back up, just because the database is so fragmented and old. So we reached out to 6 companies. We heard back from 2. One declined to put a bid in on this project just due to our size. Our recommendation is to go with Pacific Automation. They currently do our printers, so it'd be just bringing another product into their portfolio that they provide to us. They are not the lowest bid, but we have a familiarity with them. They came on site. None of the other bidders came on site to actually look at our system and see just how intricate our phones are. I mean, if you've been in our server room, it's just wires everywhere for phones. So the fact that Pacific Office Automation took that time, they've followed up multiple times on this, been very proactive in this. I'm very confident that they'll provide an excellent service to us that will last us years to come. They are asking for $35,207.27 plus $180.53 per month. That is so I can call them up at 2 a.m. and say, our admin phones are not working. You got an hour to come fix it. Not that I would do it at 2 a.m., but they would do it. And so I am asking for $38,728, and that includes a 10% contingency in case anything changes, plus the $180.53 per month.
We pay a monthly fee now, correct?
We are out of contract right now,
Okay.
so if our phone system just completely dies, we're kind of up a creek.
Is this VoIP?
No, it's all pot line.
Okay.
We had the choice to go all digital, move to cloud and all that. But with how reliable internet service is out here, I was more comfortable having all the servers on site. And in the long run, it is cheaper to have all the equipment here, have us own the equipment, not lease the equipment. In a couple of years, it all evens out.
What's the longevity? What do they say the longevity is this? Also, with technology, I'm a big fan of, hey, we've got a forward plan and look at, replacing it. So we're not 10 years down the road with something that's completely failing.
Yeah,
What is the longevity of that and what does that 35,000 get us? All the equipment and then how long is that equipment gonna be technically good for as far as what we know now?
the warranty on it is for 5 years. We can continue the service, so. With the plan I put into this proposal, if Danelle breaks her phone, she drops it, hits it off her desk, and it just somehow shatters into million pieces. They'll have a new phone out to us, and that's covered under our warranty. Can you repeat the question? Sorry. Want to make sure I answer it
Well, I
clearly.
just want to make sure, what end of life, if we
Yeah.
keep this equipment for another 10 years, how long are they gonna say that they will stand behind supporting it? Because obviously their goal is to sell more systems, down the road. So Mitel is a very large company. They actually bought out our current vendor, ShoreTel. If we had followed the upgrade plan, it probably would have been cheaper. But we're kind of getting back onto that track, getting back onto a support plan. And so once our equipment reaches end of life, we can receive significant discounts up to 20, 30, 40%, which will help cut down costs in the future. My guess, service or the warranty ends in 5 years. We can reevaluate what the equipment or how the equipment's performing in 5 years and then go from there. Or we can get another quote, say, hey, we've reached the end of our warranty. What discounts can we get if we upgrade and stay on the upgrade track? And just kind of doing a cost analysis then. I mean, I tell month to month, their discounts changes, which was really difficult getting an apples to apples because some of these companies were very slow to respond. And so, I mean, this company was saying, oh, we could do 20% this month. The previous company said, oh, this month it's 15% off for license purchases. So. Is this company usually like the leading in?
Mitel?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, with this equipment and this is kind of like
They have a very, very large market share in office phones. So they are very reputable. They're constantly purchasing smaller companies and absorbing them into their ecosystem. So I don't see any issue in the future with them going away. I mean, they might rebrand, but that's all I can see.
I'm just trying to think, are we gonna, down the road, another 5 years, another 35 grand, is that?
Can't imagine that. My guess, if in 5 years we have to upgrade. One of the companies was mentioning the discounts if we had been on the track and it's 30, 40% off. So I'm comfortable that once we get back onto this path, our costs should be minimized for a refresh.
And I think the opposite, because I've been through a number of these over the years and they tend to just climb and climb and climb every time we do them, but it's necessary. On the other side of it, Jeremy, can you explain to me and anybody else that's interested, once again, why our admin phone system has to be separate from our 911 and all the other phone systems we have? Why is it imperative that this one is separate? Because it's always called out separately, it's always purchased separately, everything about it is separate.
I mean, Vesta system is a beast in itself. And for us to even have Vesta phones in our offices, I mean, this is pocket change compared to that. Motorola is a very robust system that we don't need all that robustness in ours. I mean, we have A sides, B side, backups of A and B sides for our phone system. I mean, we did have a hardware failure about a year ago in the Vesta system. And I mean, it took us maybe 5 minutes to get back up because we had basically a mirror of our phone system. And that's 2 full racks of equipment. Our phone system is 2 U's of space in the racks, about that tall. So it's a lot more equipment and cost for the Motorola system.
So if the Vesta system were to go down and the redundancies built into that were to go down, is there any way to shift lines into the Mitel system to where we could do, crisis management phone work here with that? Is there? that
Yeah, I mean,
capability?
We already have kind of a plan in place. We have those numbers. So if we have a flood, we could plug phones into the ports on the ground here and start calling in. Or if all those lines are dead, we can forward them to the admin lines. We could forward them to our backup cell phones. Part of the Motorola upgrade was we have backup phones for our backup. So we can plug basically directly into the state's lines and get all the Alley with my cell phones, funny enough. So
Thank you.
Well, and my only thing on the whole thing is versus giving one big lump sum, is there a way that we can keep continuous upgrades for a certain set budget amount every year going forward? That we don't have to, think in 5 years, maybe it jumps, I mean, with a 40% discount, it's now jumping up to 70,000 because we're having to replace all the equipment versus something along the way. Is there anything like that they have? And then we have a set budget item every year that we know how much.
I mean, I could reach out, but I'm not hopeful. I mean, like Henry was saying, I mean, every year the price is going to increase. Our only Hail Mary is that we don't have to purchase new licenses. We're only doing renewals at that point. So that cost should go down and kind of at least keep it level or a little bit under what the going rate is for a new system. So, yeah, I can't tell you for sure, but I can reach out to Pacific office and see, hey, can we get an upgrade plan for 5 years, lock us in?
I'm just wondering that way if it, we don't have a 70,000 or whatever down the road because we've kept up on it through that 5 to 10 years, and we can plan for that budget amount every year versus dumping it every 10 years, They have a continuous income. We get our stuff cutting edge kind of thing. Yeah, I will make note.
And Henry, going back to your question earlier that you had about the phone systems, part of it I think most of our public here is aware of it, but the fact that we really say the word admin because we kind of do have two separate phone systems. Though they can talk to each other, they are separate because we do get some state funding for the 911 phones. But the state does not pay for none of that money, correct me if I'm wrong, can be used for any of the phones on the administrative side of the building. That's not directly 911 on the floor related, correct?
Correct. I mean, the systems are tied together physically, and that's one of my big issues was I'm trying to get these companies out here, hey, this admin phone system's connected to this beast of a Motorola system. You need to figure out how to continue that connection in this upgrade. And so keeping that redundancy is very important to this project.
Question I had, because obviously the recommendation is not the cheapest meter. You've explained priority of service. I know they are local.
Yeah.
At least the company is. The next company that came in, and also the recommended vendor you have is the only one that actually came on site and looked at our equipment and made sure everything looked good.
Yeah.
This other vendor, I was just trying to look up when I just did some brief Googling. I saw they're based out of Bellevue and they bought another company a few years ago out of Spokane, is operating out of there. And although on the website, it keeps saying market served and we're listed Portland, could not find anything that listed any local offices.
Believe they're semi-local. I mean, I was looking at their locations. It said they had somewhere in Portland because I was trying to keep it semi-local because I mean, if somebody's in Spokane or far up into Washington, response time is going to be reduced. But yeah, that is a good point is if their main office is that far into Washington, how much can they do remotely?
I certainly, it would intend to support this. However, Are we in a big enough rush here that we need to take action on this today, or could you come back with more information to address Jeremy's question about, some kind of a ongoing lease service plan type of a thing, and deal with it next month?
Yeah, they do have a leasing plan. It's just purchasing it outright. I mean, paper is cheaper in that 5-year span than leasing the product by quite a few $1,000s. I don't have the number.
Does the lease have the built-in upgrades?
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking, because we own it, we bought what we bought
Mhm.
now. Right, and I'm just wondering, I'd like to, at least entertain to look at if we're there, they got something that needs to be upgraded. That would make our life easier and it keeps us closer to them as far as if they're doing this and we've stayed like this for 5 years until we get to the end and now we have to go like this. That would be my, just looking at it, that may be worth it, especially to have a fixed amount every month and every year versus, keeping, again, buying something that was good 5 years ago. That would just be my question. I mean, I'm a big fan of leasing technology, especially if you're getting upgrades along the way. I just like to see what that option looks like.
Okay, yeah, I'll reach out and not a huge rush on it, so we can wait another month.
Good with you?
Yes.
I didn't see on this bid, is it, how long's the bid good for?
I bet as long as they're in communication,
Yeah.
they're probably gonna be fine.
I don't think we had a hard date. It's began in December.
Okay. Perfect.
I do agree that it needs to be replaced. I think we are okay to wait till the next meeting, but we should keep an eye on it and keep it moving.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Add to that, Harold called me on Monday to get an update. He said that he'd sent you there was gonna be at the end of December when we first started this, that
Oh, yeah.
December, something was gonna fall off, but they were able to reinstate that. Is that in your numbers here?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all.
And if this moves forward next month, implementation date is,
I don't know, because next month I'll be going onto maternity leave.
okay, I guess the only reason I asked is just to find out, was it something budgeted for this year or due to the scope of the project, will this be something that'll actually go online after July 1st to be part of budgeted for next year?
We're looking at it in this budget.
Yeah.
Okay. I forget if there was a motion on the table.
No.
I think we're just in discussion here. Don't think there's any action to be taken. Staff has given some questions and some direction and we'll report back at the next meeting. So we'll table. There's no other discussion?
Mr. Chair, just to clarify your paternity leave date, are you gonna be able to get this information to us by next month's meeting so that we can take action on it?
April 1st is my due date.
Oh, you got lots of.
Yeah.
Baby's in charge.
Yeah. Okay, but
Otherwise, Merck's can take the project and I have confidence in him that he could do it.
yeah, well,
He's in the loop.
thank you.
All right, so we will table this for the next board meeting. Next up, got the first budget meeting and the fiscal year calendar 24-25.
The first budget meeting is scheduled for April 25th. And that day, based on how it's been done in the past, there would be a board meeting at 10 a.m. A break and then the budget committee meeting at 1 p.m. We are looking for any input and priorities that the board would like focused on. You can contact me, Mary Jo, Nikki, for discussion here.
And when you were in contact inquiring about people to be able to, were available for reappointment, interested, were you able to float this April 25th date by them? Yet?
I was not, I usually send out the notice, the 1st of March, just to give them plenty of time to. But if I can do it ahead of time as well. But in the past, I've always sent it out like the beginning of March, just FYI, this is approaching, set your calendars.
Or cast for her to try to get here on
Yeah,
a date.
y'all pretty good, so.
In regards to the budget stuff, one thing that I was kind of curious, I know that we're a taxing district and currently as far as mobile radios and pack sets, those have been on the agencies to provide. But yet, you know, the citizens in the taxing district are providing money to the district. And I think, I'm just wondering if we can look at, because everybody's all over the board as far as agencies goes, and we're talking about providing all the dispatch and all the radios down the road. I'm just wondering about looking at something, it's starting to have mobiles and accents maintained and given out by the district. If we, you know, for that part of it, because right now, other than dispatch services, it seems like the taxing district, you know, that maybe that should be something, since it is part of this radio system, that we look at for agencies, because some agencies haven't touched their radios in 10 to 15 years or even had service done on them. So I think that, you know, I'd like to start looking at that, as since this is a countywide taxing district that, you know, that services those agencies, that we start looking down that road even before the next gen project.
Before the next gen project. I'll let the board. Any discussion from you guys?
Well, that's certainly a good question to ask. I think that hopefully the next gen project happens sooner rather than later, and you know, buying a bunch of VHF equipment for agencies that is going to be immediately replaced by 700 or 800.
With tri-band radios now, I mean, and I'm assuming that's what they're gonna have to look at anyway with the next gen radio project. It's not gonna be all 800 anyway, because Klatskin and all that, and just the presentations that I've seen, it's gonna have to be some sort of tri-band, or Peter's saying, I'm understanding, I could be wrong, maybe that'd be a question for Nathan, but the technology is there, because, you know, if we're talking about interoperability, I would think that we'd want to be providing them things that can work on pretty much any system anyway, even if we have to go to another system out of what area, fire department's going to work with ODF, things like that, because ODF is not on an 800 system in a majority of the state. So I don't know, I'm just throwing this out there that I think that if we are saying that we've got a taxing district for the entire county, and this is something that touches the radio system, that we should start looking at, you know, again, at least maintenance and having them coordinate maintenance to get, if we've got someone Day Wireless to be bringing, especially the police agencies that are having issues with connection already, getting in to make sure that their mobiles and their access are even in spec. You know, I think that should be something that falls to the district to deal with.
Certainly would be something that we would need to discuss when we're talking about our levy, because this is going to add, you know, hundreds of thousands or more dollars to our obligation if we were to do that, which hasn't been budgeted for.
No, so I'm looking at current budget of what we have, you know.
This has been chatted with before, and part of the issues is some agencies have different brands of radios. Therefore, there's not a single vendor that services all brands X, Y, and Z. I believe in the previous one, it's in the previous system, excuse me, in the previous system, all new radios were handed out. And at that point in time, because there was no money for set in the budget for maintaining, it was, okay, you're getting new radios, but you are in charge of maintaining them. And that was, as you mentioned, that was identified in the past, because as there were some complaints, the agency did advocate for end users to definitely have their equipment inspected, and some different agencies did find some deficiencies with some radios.
Well, I mean, it's gonna come one way or another with next gen or not. So I think that, you know, that's something that we can immediately do for the folks out there on the road that can also assist, even if it's helping and finding, because I mean, majority of the agencies, I can guarantee that if Day Wireless has a contract and to maintain and do that already, that they'll figure out a way to maintain those any of the radios, or we go, hey, you know, this agency is a priority to getting their stuff replaced, you know, for the district. So I don't, that would be one of the things that I would think is, you know, if this is for the people out on the road to be able to talk and all that, but I think that that's something that we should start now looking at, even ahead of the next gen radio project. you know, because we are gonna see some sort of tri-band radio anyway, but that would be my, when we're looking at budget priorities, I'd like to see something like that, at least maintenance being coordinated through the district. Because you can't, with radio frequency shifts and all that stuff, you know, trying to get them, you know, if they are going to the same person, but we all know that a lot of the guys out there on the street are already hindered by personnel issues. So, you know, having something that's already being coordinated with the other maintenance of the system may be something to look at in budget priorities.
Sounds good. Yeah, I was encountering your, like, I just some background. But now is the time, like I said, while we're looking at the new budget and to ask some of those questions. Okay, here, I think might need to backtrack just a little bit. We did do the resolution, but I don't think we talked about the SCL 803 and the 805. Yep, Danielle was going to talk to us about it because we received some input from the county after we filed and some directions from them.
I'm sure you remember the last time that we met, we had not yet gotten an answer from the elections office. After that meeting, they did respond. So they had given us recommendations and pointed to language in the budget title.
It's more
The
in the
election budget
question.
title handbook of what the language should be.
Mhm.
The question was just the last sentence that was changed in the one that we done last time. It now reads, this measure renews the current local option taxes. And the other change that we made was to make sure that the language matched between the 803 and the 805. It is a very, very small change, but we did discuss it last time. There was board action and then a resolution today. And we're looking to have this signed and file it today.
Yeah. It'll be filed today.
So what is the ultimate title that we can't, that what it, you read it off, just what the change, the direction from them was and what we changed it to?
So Dawn at the elections is asking us, this had said something about increasing taxes,
Okay.
but that's not the case.
Yeah.
This measure is just a renewal of current local. So that's what he wanted us to add.
I think it was just previously, the state had said that because this is gonna have a tax, you have to have that statement on it that said this is going to increase.
Or may cause.
In which there was a big backlash from agencies that were just renewing current things because it wasn't increasing, it was just maintaining.
Mhm.
And so this change here just goes with the current practice that they said that you can put in there that just says this,
It's renewing current.
the sentence says this measure renews current local option taxes.
That was it.
Any other questions about that? It was nice when we finally got the response because it was a little odd for a bit there that we were not,
A lot of phone tag.
a lot of phone tag. In the end, though, they were very helpful,
Definitely.
responsive.
And since we previously approved both the 803 and the 805 via motion and board action, would like just to keep things formal, maybe entertain a motion to approve revised 803 and 805 as presented.
I'd make a motion to approve the 803 and the 805 as currently presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Right.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Agenda items for March 28th. Anyone have any requests, suggestions? All right, hearing none. If there's no other business, member comments, and we'll start from the right this time.
No, nothing. Glad to see, everything moving along and, hope that, Mike is getting along well in his recovery. And, just again, kudos to staff for keeping it all together.
Thank you.
Henry.
Yeah, just a special thanks to you all for having to put on extra hats and everything during Mike's absence and all this, and stuff doesn't get less busy around here, so it's always business as usual plus whatever's adding on top of it. And Nathan, I think that your timing must have been off a little bit to, be doing this paternity leave thing, right, following up, Mike barely getting back, so next time, plan that a little bit.
If we even plan this.
But anyway, I know you're all working real hard, trying to keep ahead of everything, and you're doing a great job with it, but thank you so much.
Shelley.
Well, glad Mike's going through physical torture while we're here, because that's what physical therapy is. I'm glad to hear things are working whatnot, and you guys are doing a fantastic job as usual, and we appreciate everything you do, and if that baby comes early, congratulations early, but hold off, so.
Not praying for April Fool.
Oh, anyway,
It's already been said, but yes, I would like to thank all the staff that has stepped up, especially Danielle. And it's nice to hear that there is interest on the floor of people also seeing opportunities and inquiring, such as us getting back up to the full amount of leads and people wanting to help and assist. So I think I can see the agency is growing internally. It's nice to see.
Yes, I'm very, very happy with things are going in that aspect.
All right. And if there is nothing else, we will be adjourned at 10:23.